Hi everyone, this is your average tank player who actually got to a number 2 Quebec as a Johnson player. And after coaching so many followers for a few months now, I realized that the number one problem tank players actually have is actually they don't know how to build, right? They actually just press a random build and then they end up being extremely squishy although they're actually a tank. And then they end up feeding themselves and the team reports them. So if you want to learn some tips and tricks about tanking on how to build, how to be really tanky and beefy as a tank, stick around and I'll give you my tips and my insights about it. Do you find yourself actively building or are you just pressing the random recommended pro builds? Do you find yourself being extremely squishy because you didn't build right? Oftentimes as tank players we just end up using the automatic build. You just buy random items you don't really want to buy and you don't want to sell because you realize that you're going to lose gold. And especially as beginners, that's the mistake we all make. And after watching so many YouTube videos and trying to understand what each defense items do, you don't really know how to put everything together. And it's like playing basketball. You know how to dribble, you know how to shoot, but you don't really know how to put everything together. So that's what I'm going to teach you today. At the end of the video, you'll have a general understanding on how to build properly during the game. Tank players will often say that you shouldn't copy their tank builds because it changes with each game, and I totally agree. But today, after this video, you'll understand exactly what they mean and how you should build during the game. Now let's do a quick recap on defense item. First of all, there's Dominance Ice. You use it to build against high DPS heroes, and you also use it for anti-lifesteal. Secondly, there's Anti-Cuirass. It is the best physical defense item as of right now. And there's also Athena Shield, which is the best magic resistance item. It protects you from burst magic damage. Next up is Immortality. It is really useful to build this item in late game, since it also gives you a second chance of living. Next up is Twilight Armor. You use it to counter high physical burst while returning some damage. Next is Thunderbelt. This item gives you HP as it also slows down the target with a basic attack. Next is Guardian Helmet. This item helps regenerate when you don't take damage. It is useful to use this item to go in and out of battle constantly. Next up is Blade Armor. It is really useful against high DPS heroes. It has the highest physical defense and it also returns a portion of the damage taken. Next up is Cursed Helmet. It provides little magic resistance, but it is mostly used for tank clearing lanes, and as long as you stay in a battle, the enemy will also take damage because of this item. Lastly is Radiant Armor. You use this magic resistance item to use against high magic DPS heroes such as Chang'e, Alice, and etc. Now let's talk about how to build. Here are a few things you want to keep in mind. What are the enemy heroes? Is there more magic damage heroes or are there more physical damage heroes? The other thing is that you want to counter build 1 to 2 main enemy carry. You have to look at which enemy heroes does the most damage to your team and you want to build accordingly. First off, let's talk about the boots. For me, personally, if the enemy has 4 or more physical damage dealers, I will build armor boots. If not, I'll build tough boots. Secondly, the first few items that you want to build would depend on the enemy. As a general rule, you want to build Anti-Cuirass and Athena Shield or Radiant Armor. So what do you ask yourself? First of all, you want to check who's carrying the enemy team. Is it a magic damage dealer or is it a physical damage dealer? To know, you should check the scoreboard. You want to counter their carry first by either building the physical defense item first or you want to build the magic resistance item. This can really vary since sometimes the hero who's going to carry the early game will probably be a Jawhead or just a really good early game hero, but then probably when you move on to late game, you have to change up your build a little bit, since maybe the late game carry of your enemy team would be a Hanabi or a Leslie. So that's what you want to keep in mind. Now let's talk about counter building. After you have your boots and your main 2 core tank items, you want to start counter building the enemy. So these are the few questions you should ask yourself. Which hero does the most damage to you? Is it a mage? If it is a mage, then you can build Radiant Armor, Oracle, or some other magic resistance item. If it is a physical damage dealer, then build accordingly. And you also want to watch who dealt the most damage to you. Is it the mage? Is it the physical damage dealer? That could also indicate which defense item you should build. At the end of the match, to check whether you're building right, you shouldn't be dying a lot, and you should also check the data to make sure you're building the right thing. Usually in post game, you could press data and you should check the amount of damage you've taken for the team. Usually I would recommend about 40%. If you did 40%, then good job, you did a really good job. The best tank players, they build according to their tank's passive. So for the tank that I just recommended you, it will work really well with Tigreal, as Tigreal doesn't really have a passive that you have to build accordingly. And if not, if you want to try different tanks, make sure you read your passive first. For example, for Johnson, he will gain a shield according to his maximum physical defense. As a consequence, I would want to build according to that, so I'll try to maximize the physical defense on Johnson. For the sake of time, these are the advice I can give you as of right now to drastically improve your gameplay as a tank player. And if you have any suggestions, any comments, make sure to leave it down in the comment section, and also share and like the video, as it helps my channel grow too, and will be able to impact more tank players and help tank players get recognized. And also, if you want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, as I'm really active there, and there's also giveaways going on from time to time. So that's it for this video, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and see you guys next time.